I, like many of you, grew up watching this classic movie that showcases strong performances by the lead cast Visu, Manorama, Lakshmi, Raghuvaran, etc. It was also critically acclaimed for its relatable themes, humor, dialogues, and meaningful social commentary. Making an engaging script with authentic depiction of family life was huge back then. I was recently rewatching this film and couldn't help but rant and discuss about the characters. Yes, today we are going to be talking about the very famous
Samsaram, adhu minsaram.
Now, before we begin, I'd want to point out that this movie was filmed in the 80s and thus the entire plot was based on the economic, social, and cultural context of that time. It would be unjust to simply judge it today. We would have enjoyed watching several films back then, but revisiting them today, we do realize how problematic some of them are. Similarly, some personalities who were represented unfairly deserve to be recognized now since we were too young to understand them at that time. It's time to unlearn and finally appreciate some misunderstood characters. And for those wondering why movies like this aren't made anymore, well, here is why it shouldn't. Welcome to the first episode of Unlearning 101. Samsaram adhu minsaram is a Tamil family drama film that explores the dynamics and conflicts within a middle-class family led by a strict patriarch Ammayappan. He has a daughter and 3 sons. The elder one, Chidambaram, played by Raghuvaran, is married to Uma, played by Lakshmi. The most rational character in the entire movie is Sarojini, the resident daughter. She is a smart and a courageous woman, but as usual is painted as the terrible, conceited one who needs to be fixed. Sarojini refuses a marriage proposal as she is already in love with a man of different faith. But the others don't know that yet, so she simply responds that she is not interested when questioned. Following the parenting protocol, instead of countering her logical concerns, everyone starts to upbraid her. When Ammayappan visits Delhi Ganesh's place to apologize, Delhi Ganesh proposes to marry off his daughter to Ammayappan's second son, determined to somehow get associated with this family. They fix a wedding without asking for the concerned party's consent, and this is the reason they give us. He almost directly calls out Sarojini for using a mind of her own and choosing a life partner, to which the father responds by agreeing to have not raised his daughter well, also pushing her into the good girl syndrome. Vasanta is an educated and outspoken woman. But isn't writing a woman character who's much more educated than her husband back then progressive? Well, no, because this is only so that she could teach and tutor her husband's younger brother later in the film. Sarojini and her boyfriend Peter Fernandez's wedding, along with Vasanta and Shiva, the second son's wedding, all takes place happily. One day after the wedding, Peter comes home to find his father upset about something. He goes to his room to find Sarojini. It's just a very normal scene of a girl, his wife, dancing in comfortable clothes at her own comfort of her room with a female friend.
சரி, நான் செவனே தானா போய்க்கிருந்தேன். யாரு வம்பு தும்புக்காச்சும் போனனா?
பீட்டர், நீங்க படிச்சவங்க இப்படியா பிஹேவ் பண்றது?
சரோ, நீ பண்புள்ள பொண்ணு, நீ இப்படியே பிஹேவ் பண்றது?
சம்பந்தம் இல்லாம பேசுறாங்களே.
நான் என்ன நடு ரோட்ல ஆடுறேன்? என் வீட்ல என் பெட்ரூம்ல ஆடுறேன். தட் வித் தி ஃபீமேல்.
நீ கல்யாணான பொண்ணு, உனக்கு எதுக்கு இந்த Dress டான்ஸ்?
அவனை சொல்லி நிறுத்துங்களேன்டா பைத்தியக்காரப்ப. எதுக்குடா வரீங்கங்களா?
செய்யுங்கடா, செய்யுங்க.
He starts mansplaining her about how a wife or a woman should behave.
It's all right. கீழ டாடி வெயிட் பண்றாரு, போய் சாப்பாடு போடு.
பீட்டர், நான் வேலைக்காரிட்ட சொல்லிட்டு வந்துட்டேன்.
அடி பைத்தியம், வேலைக்காரி கையில தான் உங்களுக்கு சாப்பாடு கிடைக்கும்னா நான் அவளையே கல்யாணம் பண்ணி இருக்கலாமே.
Wait a minute.
வேலைக்காரி கையில தான் உங்களுக்கு சாப்பாடு கிடைக்கும்னா நான் அவளையே கல்யாணம் பண்ணி இருக்கலாமே.
But thank you.
जो मैं कहने की कोशिश कर रहा था वो तुमने साबित कर लिया।
Welcome to lessons on how to dress as a woman by Peter.
அந்த ட்ரெஸ்ஸை கழட்டிட்டு இந்த புடவையை மாத்திக்க. நெத்தி நிறைய குங்குமம் வச்சுக்க, தலை நிறைய பூ வச்சுக்க.
The misogynistic father-in-law states how she should have gotten his permission before going to an office party, and he also gives an amazing analogy for life after wedding.
பீட்டர் வண்டியை ஓட்டுறவன், நீ பின்னாடி உக்காடுறவன். நீ ஆட்டம் கொடுத்தா அவன் பேலன்ஸ் போயிடும். அவன் பேலன்ஸ் போயிடுச்சுன்னா வண்டியே ஆட்டம் கண்டுடும். நான் வண்டின்னு சொன்னது வாழ்க்கைய.
எங்க வண்டி ஒழுங்காதான் போயிட்டு இருக்க. குறுக்கே ஏதாவது கழட்டு பூனை வந்தாதா வண்டி ஆட்டம் காணும். நான் கழட்டு பூனைன்னு சொன்னது உங்களே இல்ல.
The insecure Peter starts slut-shaming his wife, and this is what Sarojini responds.
லுக் மிஸ்டர் பீட்டர், என் மனசுல உங்களை தவிர வேற யாருக்கும் இடம் இல்ல. ஆனா நீங்க என்ன அடிமையா நடத்துறதை என்னால பொறுத்துக்க முடியாது. பணக்கார வீட்டுல மருமகங்கிற பேர்ல ஆயுள் கைதியா இருக்க நான் தயாரா இல்ல.
நான் ப்ரோ ஒரு அளவுக்கு தான் ப்ரோ, எல்லாமே சும்மாலாம் நோண்ட கூடாது ப்ரோ.
Being the sensible person that she is, she does the right thing of leaving him and returns to her parents' place where she is put at fault.
ஏய், மரியாதையா பேசுறே. அவர் உனக்கு தாலி கட்டின புருஷன்
இல்ல கோதாவரி, மோதிரம் மாத்தின புருஷன்.
அந்த தாலிக்கும் மோதிரத்துக்கும் மதிப்பே ஒரு பொண்ணு கழுத்துலயோ விரலையோ ஏறினதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான். அந்த பொண்ணையே அவங்க சரியா புரிஞ்சுக்கல, அப்புறம் தாலியாவது மோதிரமாவது.
They want to send her back to her husband's house because what would people say? The family comes up with a plan led by Uma, whose full-time job is to fix people and families. They finally succeed in manipulating Sarojini, who goes back to Peter. The youngest brother Bharati all of a sudden decides to study so that he can finally clear his +2 exams after so many failed attempts, and like I said before, Vasanta's academic knowledge is now put to use. She tutors him at night, hence this newly married couple are therefore not able to sleep in the same room. When she expresses her concerns to her husband,
என் வாழ்க்கையில் இன்னும் நான் எல்லா குடும்பங்களை பார்க்கணும்னு இருக்கும் எனக்கே தெரியல.
being a reasonable woman, she too leaves the house to her father's place. He reacts in a much worse way. He disowns her because a lady presumably belongs to her husband's family rather than her own. Her entire definition of family needs to be revised. As crazy as it sounds, this is the dismal reality even today. Her husband was already waiting at the door to take her back, not because he was sorry, but because his pride was hurt. He goes on to degrade, insult and guilt trip her in the middle of the road on the way.
ஒரு பொண்ணு கிடைக்கிற மரியாதையும் அவமரியாதையும் அவ புருஷனால தாங்கிறத நான் நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டேன்.
The legendary ending of the movie talks about how a woman's worth is directly proportional to the man in her life. I liked how Uma really took a stand for herself. In most regions, it is only considered respectful if a guy or the head of the household invites you to something. The invitation is also usually addressed to the man in the household, regardless of whether invited. I too, when I watched this movie back then, thought that Sarojini was impertinent, but I would like to believe that we've come a long way since then. It's time for us to finally unlearn things. With this, we come to the end of today's episode. This was my personal opinion and takeaways. I would really like to know what you all thought. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe.